Welcome to my Stalker 2 veteran weapon tier list. So this is after one playthrough of the game, and based on my experience with the weapons, some weapons I have more experience with than others, but based on the stats and the kind of natural progression of certain weapons, we can kind of place them based off of just like stats and, damage output and range and penetration, ammo availability, things like this. Some of the major things I'm considering, ammo costs, like the type of ammo, like how common it is to get as a drop or to find it, how cheap it is, how frequently you can find it at merchants, what the weapon is good at fighting with, if it's versatile, the attachments for the weapon, like some assault rifles have like the underbarrel shotgun, others do not. Availability, how easily can you get it? Obviously things like damage, penetration and range, and is it competitive with similar options? So if you have like one of the many assault rifles, which of them is better in different circumstances and why? So we'll start with pistols. So we'll start with Skiff's pistol. This is a forced inventory item that requires basic ammo that's pretty common, the 9x18. It's essentially a PTM that you're forced to have on you at all times. So it kind of makes the actual PTM bad because you always have one no matter what. I would say Skiff's pistol is okay. Early game, it can one-shot headshot on veteran, but like middle game and late game, it starts to struggle against heavily armored opponents, and it's definitely not the best thing against actual threat mutants. Like if we're talking dogs or rats and things like this, it's fine, but for like bloodsuckers and, big threats like poltergeists and stuff, it's just not the best. It can be silenced. You can get it silenced with the extended mag super early, and it's just decent in the early game, and then it's just kind of like a backup thing. You can have like armor penetration rounds loaded into it so that you can kind of do something with it, but it's not really competitive with the one pistol that we'll get to soon. So the PTM, it's just the exact same thing, but you're forced to carry this, so why bother? So it's just kind of outclassed. The UDP Compact. Now this thing's stats are pretty similar to Skiff's pistol. It has a little bit better accuracy. It has accuracy of 3.9, whereas Skiff's pistol is 3.3. Now there are upgrades. The base damage is also a little bit lower compared to Skiff's pistol. So I kind of feel like it's bad. I'm sure some people like it. You can get like a sight on it, like a hollow sight on it. I think maybe just a red dot or a hollow sight. I know you can get like an optic on it, but I don't think you can get like zoom on it. So you could argue it's situational because you can get optic. So it's kind of like a side grade to this, but unfortunately you can't get rid of this. So I don't really think it's that good though. Maybe you can, if you disagree, definitely let me know like why. All right, the APSB. So how good is this thing? So the damage is actually less than the Skiff's pistol. So like just off of that, it does have higher penetration though. It has a penetration value of 3, which is actually quite good. So just off of penetration, it's going to be a little bit more viable in endgame than the Skiff's pistol. It's probably here. I feel like because it's so similar to Skiff's pistol, I wouldn't want to run this. There's one pistol that I recommend running, and we're about to get to it, but this thing seems fine. It has decent accuracy. The range is low. The penetration is good and the damage is low, so it's not really anything, that stands out as being good. I'm actually really disappointed in the pistols in this game, except for one pistol. And I feel like Stalker 1 had better, like different pistol options that had better damage and could do more, whereas with this game, you have a bunch of pea shooters and then one really good pistol. All right, the Rhino, it's S tier. What does it do? Well, first of all, it has max damage. It has damage value of 5, penetration value of 3. It has way higher range and accuracy compared to the other pistols. It does shoot slower and it shoots more expensive ammo, but the ammo is quite common. It's not as common as like, the 9x18 and the 9x19 and, assault rifle rounds and stuff like this, but it's definitely more common than some of the more niche ammo types like 308. So it can one-shot headshot a lot of things. It's not going to be like one-shot headshotting mutants, but it does really high damage to mutants because it has high base damage, it has good range, and has good penetration, and it has good accuracy. It literally has everything you want. So you can also get optics on it, which are quite nice, and it just outclasses the other pistols. It's not even close. It's not even fair either because you can get it early too. So these are just like super mid compared to this. Now you cannot suppress it because it is a revolver. I don't know if you can suppress revolvers or not, like in real life. You can comment if you want about that, but it's just way better. It's not even close. All right, so this segues into the SMGs. I have these off on the side so I can look at their stats. So the M10 Gordon, interestingly enough, can be equipped in the pistol slot. So another reason why the pistols can be outclassed is because this is your super accurate high burst damage, high penetration pistol, and then the M10 is like a really good spam weapon that can be used to kill like rat swarms or like stupid things like dogs or whatever, but you can get it pretty early. I would say it's a little bit better than Skiff's pistol. It does have lower damage, but it does have higher penetration. It does have low range, but you're really just using this as a kind of like close range spam tool to just deal with like low level threats like dogs, mutant rats, rat swarms, and just like junk, like enemies that you don't really want to waste good ammo or weapon durability on. Now you could argue Skiff's pistol is better than this because it's free and it's always on you, so I think that's fair. So let's actually bump it down below Skiff's pistol, but it's like situational. It's just interesting that you can equip it in the pistol slot as an SMG. I don't know that it's very good though, and it kind of just wastes ammo, but it's definitely better than bad. It's like, it has a niche. All right, so the Viper 5, also known as MP5. Honestly, I think it's almost in B tier, but I feel like late game, its low penetration is really going to be holding it back. So I'm going to put it in high C. It's a pretty good weapon for early game, but it does start to get outclassed by other things. And most of the weapons kind of have a progression where certain weapons will just outclass others. So like the Rhino just outclasses all the other pistols, and that's true of most weapon categories. But it is a decent weapon, and it does have a use case, and it's a pretty good accurate headshotting tool for early game on veteran. All right, next we have the Bucket. Now the Bucket has higher base damage, higher penetration, the range is the same, and the accuracy is a little bit higher. Now I haven't personally run this, but it's basically an MP5 with higher penetration and higher base damage. I'm going to put this, it'll be in low B tier over time, but this is serviceable. It shoots the same ammunition, which is quite common, and if I recall correctly, the ammo is like light, but it seems like it's decent. It has an okay penetration value for an SMG. It seems fine. Next, we have the Vector, or also known as the Integral A. This thing, the damage is actually lower than the Bucket, but it has higher penetration, which does matter. It has higher range, and it has higher accuracy. So in a lot of ways, you could consider this an upgrade to this. Some people might put this in S tier. I think it's just A tier, based on what I've seen and what I've like experienced when using this. The Zuber 19. So compared to the Vector, this has higher base damage, same range, lower accuracy, and a lower rate of fire, but it does have a higher capacity. It has a 50 round magazine. So where the Vector struggles is its capacity. Now there is an extended mag, but I think it just puts it at 30. So this is the Zuber, like if you just want like a spam weapon, that's kind of what I would use these for. You can still kind of one-shot headshot certain enemies because of the penetration value, but you're probably not going to be one-tapping like heavily armored opponents in the middle of game to the end game. So I think it's just like probably like here or here. I mean, it has higher base damage than the Integral, and it also has just slightly less penetration, like 0.1 less. So the higher base damage plus the similar penetration, you have a higher damage, higher capacity weapon, just a little bit better. I don't think it's breaking into S tier. I don't think it's overpowered. I think it's definitely outclassed by the assault rifles, but we'll get to those. All right, so let's move on to the shotguns. Let me find my tab. It has all my shotguns. All right, the boomstick. So the boomstick, I upgraded fully to try to make it work, and it's just terrible. I actually think it's better than the weapon that's redundant, because if you have it, you can point blank kill something with a body shot or a headshot, but anything beyond like 10 feet, it's just not one-shotting. It has bad penetration. It has 1.1 penetration. Its upgrades are terrible. Its range is really bad. Its accuracy is fine, but the big things holding it back are its low penetration and its range. It has no use case at all, and it's immediately outclassed by the hunting shotgun that they call the TOZ-34. So the TOZ-34 has same penetration, but it has more range and more accuracy, and it does have better upgrades, of course. So the big advantage of this thing over the boomstick is you can use this to reliably one-shot like most enemies if you get like a headshot or like a chest shot in early game, obviously against heavily armored opponents. And as you start entering higher level regions, like with better enemies, it's going to fall off, but it's like situational. I would say it's around like here. It's like a good early game burst damage tool, but it immediately falls off when you get literally any other shotgun. All right, the M80 Cracker. I wanted this thing to be really good. I fully upgraded it, and I really wanted it to be like a thing. I don't think it is. It's definitely better than the hunting shotgun because of its capacity, and it can eventually get a clip, but aside from that, I don't even want to put it in B tier. I'm going to put it in C tier. I think it's just decent. Like, it's like a little bit worse than good, because like long term, so like, all right, so against humanoids, it can one-shot headshot for most of the game, but you have to be kind of close. Now the problem with that is a lot of weapons can do that. So against humanoids, it's not the best thing. Against like bloodsuckers, which are another real concern that you want to deal with, like bloodsuckers and poltergeists and things you want to just like unload burst damage into, because it's pump action, it doesn't shoot fast enough, and it's basically going to get outgunned by SMGs and assault rifles and semi-automatic shotguns. So I just don't think it's that good. The S.P.A.L.K.E.R. So this I do think is quite good. I'm not rating these based on uniques either. Like, I feel like uniques would be a different thing. But this is a good weapon. I'm gonna put it. So it has good penetration. Its range is similar, but with upgrades, it actually can have pretty good range and a little bit better penetration, and I think better accuracy as well. So its upgrades are pretty meaningful. But the big issue with it is that it reloads one shell at a time. So its reload kind of holds it back, but I'm gonna put it in a high B tier. So what this thing excels in is close range firefights with humans, because you can rapidly take down a group, like a small group at close range, even going for body shots sometimes. And it's really good at killing bloodsuckers early on. Like, if you unload a clip into a bloodsucker, you will pretty much instantly kill it, especially if you're getting headshots. And I'm pretty sure shotguns stagger them on hit briefly. If that's not true, then definitely let me know, but I'm fairly certain that's a thing. I'll have to test it, but you can, at the very least, in the time window the bloodsucker is revealed, you can shoot it like 3 to 4 times in the face and instantly kill it, which is really nice. So it's really good at doing that. And then we have the Saiga. Now the Saiga is like the same thing as the SPSA, but it has a magazine. And like with all shotguns, the ammo is very abundant and it's everywhere. It's cheap. There's buckshots, there's slugs for more accuracy. Slugs, I kind of want to do like a little slug rant right now. I feel like slugs in this game are seriously limited by the shotgun's poor range stat, which directly scales damage down. So like the range of the slug, I feel like slugs should not have as much damage fall off, because the whole point of a slug, like, you can hunt with slugs in real life at decent ranges that buckshot is just not effective in. So I feel like the slugs are kind of like a meme. The expansive ammo, I mean, it's still armor penetration, so like at point blank, it's pretty good against like tanky things. But it seems to be the case that the damage fall off is very severe on slugs, when in reality it's not. But I feel like slugs need a buff in that way. The expansive ammo is quite good though too for burst damage. The Saiga, is it OP? I think it's at least A tier. I'm gonna put it in A tier for now. I want to think about this for a second. All right, so 3 penetration. So it does have at base higher penetration than the SPSA, so it's definitely a tier above it for that, and also the fact that it has a magazine. The magazine reload is huge, especially in boss fights or in a pinch where there are a lot of enemies, especially in some of these endgame fights where there's like 10 to 20 enemies in like a huge firefight and you want that quick reload. Now, if you play around the map correctly, you can kind of mitigate it, but reloading your entire capacity instantly is just a huge advantage. So I think it's at least A tier. The upgrades are pretty good as well, and it just seems like a solid option. I kind of want to put an S tier. The main limiting factor, of course, is range, because it's like you can one-shot headshot with a lot of assault rifles, and the assault rifles can get grenade launchers and get underbarrel shotguns, which is literally what the Saiga is. So it's like, I don't know if it's S, because like, I don't know, man. We'll see. All right, and then the RAM. So the difference between the Saiga and the RAM is the RAM has a little bit better accuracy, a little bit better range. The penetration is the same. I haven't looked at the upgrades of the RAM. I haven't really run it much. It's basically just an objectively better Saiga. Depending on how the upgrade trees go, I might put an S. For now, I'm just going to put it in high A until I use it more and get more experience with it, but I think that's fair. It's probably at least A tier. So let's move on to assault rifles. All right, AKM-74U. So this is one of the starter weapons. 1 penetration, 1.1 penetration, 1 damage value. The range is actually pretty low at just 1.2. It's almost like shotgun range. The accuracy is 2.5. I feel like this thing is fine. I think it's okay for early game. I prefer the AKM-74S over this. The difference between them, you have a slightly higher damage value and a much higher range, as well as slightly higher accuracy. So this is just a better version of this. So this is a little bit better. I'll put this in like B tier. I feel like this is still, there's scoped versions of this early on. You can throw scopes on it. I think you can throw a scope on this as well, but this has the accuracy and the range to kind of leverage it. It has a base range of 1.9, which is decent. Whereas the other weapon, the AKM-74U, has a base range of 1.2. So you're getting pretty steep fall off, which makes sense because it's like a shorter barrel, so it's logical. And then we also have the AR-416, which has pretty similar stats to the 74S. The main difference being it has way lower base damage. The penetration values are the same. It does have higher accuracy, but it has the same range. Its ammo is also harder to come by earlier on, and I feel like if you were to use this as a late game weapon, it would be fine, but there's just better options. So I feel like it's also in C tier, just because of the time when it would be useful. You can't really run it that much. Now you could find one early and run it, you know, get ammo for it, but it just has less damage than the other AK, than the 74S. So I feel like it's just a worse version of that, because their penetration values are the same, their range is the same. It just has more accuracy, but at that range of 1.9, which is like relatively, like, it's like the entry point for medium range. It's not like it has 3 range where it's effective at a distance. So its extra range doesn't really benefit it. It might have like less recoil, but the recoil is very manageable on all those like starter assault rifles. The AS Lavina. So this thing, I don't know what it is. I've just never liked this in Stalker. It seems fine. It has a really high penetration value. It does shoot 9x39, which is a little bit less common than the 5.45 of the AKs and the 5.56 of the AR. So it shoots like less common ammo. Its range is low because it's like suppressed. It has good accuracy. High accuracy with low range doesn't really matter, because then your damage fall off is too big of an issue for the accuracy to be meaningful at range. So you can accurately land low damage shots. Penetration value is good. The base damage is the same as the 74S. I don't really see the point in it aside from it being suppressed. I feel like it's like super situational, and the ammo is just like too niche for me to recommend. So I'm gonna put it a little bit below Skiff's pistol. If this is sacrilege for you, or like a big deal, let me know why. If you think I'm wrong, but I feel like its ammo is too niche, its base damage isn't high enough, and its range is too low. And I'd rather just throw a suppressor on any of the other assault rifles, because they're all just better than this for the most part. All right, let's change that. All right, the Fora 221. So we have, it shoots 5.45, which is good because that's common. Its base damage is 0.9, so a little bit less than the 74S. Its penetration value is 2.2, which is double that of the 74S. So we're very likely seeing a damage increase against most targets just because of the penetration value, Range still 1.9, accuracy is 3, so a little bit better accuracy than the 74S. For clip size, it's 30. It is a bullpup design. I guess I should probably look at weight too. The weights are pretty similar. The AR is a little bit heavier than the AKs, but the AS Slovenia is light. It's like 2.7 kilograms. That's not bad. It's like a kilogram lighter than the most of their options. That's an advantage for sure, but the niche ammo, it's just, I don't know, it's just too weird. All right, so damage is decent for an assault rifle. I don't think you get an underbarrel because it has this like hand grip thing. So it just doesn't have underbarrel options. So it's kind of like a higher penetration AK. That's kind of how I view this. It even shoots, does it shoot same ammo? Double check that. Yeah, it shoots the same ammo as an AK. So it's like a higher penetration AK. So I'll put it in like higher B tier. I think it's decent. When I get one of these, I'm not like super hyped though. And I'm not, that's like obviously, you know, not objective, but it doesn't feel like it's much better than the AK. All right, the GP37. So this has higher penetration than the AK, but lower damage. I'm kind of using the AK as like a benchmark point because this is just like pretty solid weapon for most of the game, I feel like. It's just decent. But it doesn't have the best attachments, but we'll get into that. All right, so the GP37, the range is decent, 2.3, so it's hitting out a little further. It can get the underbarrel shotgun attachment, and I think also a grenade launcher. But the shotgun attachment is a magazine, 5-round magazine that is basically like a Saiga for your assault rifle. So because it can get that, it kind of bumps it up to potential S tier territory, or maybe like high A, because it basically is an AR that can one-tap headshot a lot of different, you know, enemies, except for like super armored ones. But it also has that option for burst damage at close range. So you could kind of get away with just running this with the underbarrel and then not need a shotgun. And the other nice thing about the underbarrel shotgun attachment is that if you ever get shotgun shells and you're like running low on primary ammo, you now just have a shotgun essentially. Is it as good as like a straight up shotgun? It's probably a little bit worse, you know, less capacity, probably less range and so on, but it's still serviceable, you know, as a semi-automatic shotgun option. But it's a pretty solid weapon with good accuracy, pretty good fire rate. It's pretty low recoil like most assault rifles. It's pretty easy to use. It also has built-in 2x zoom, which is interesting. It has like a passive zoom. It kind of just is like, it's just a really solid option. Like you can't go wrong like running this as like one of your main weapons. All right, and then we want to look at the Grom. So the Grom has a built-in grenade launcher. I've never liked this gun. That doesn't mean it's bad, but when playing Stalker 1, every time I got one of these, I just hated how they look. I just always thought they looked ugly, so I would just immediately drop it. And I didn't like the iron sights. I always liked using the AN94 in Stalker 1. But the Grom S14, so 1 damage, 2.4 penetration, so it's starting to get into higher penetration territory, which does increase damage against heavily armored opponents. Range of 1.6, accuracy of 3.5, so like the range is not the best. It shoots 9x39, which, what else shoots that? I feel like that's a niche, I feel like that's niche as hell. Like the range is low. The damage and penetration are fine. The fact that it has a grenade launcher isn't really the best. It's not like an obvious benefit because you can easily get a grenade launcher attachment for a lot of these assault rifles. I'm going to put this in situational. I don't really think it's that good. I feel like the ammo, similar, at least has a grenade launcher. Now these are like, you stop using these as you enter middle game, so that's the situation. This I feel like is a weird middle game option where there's just better things that like completely overshadow it, and we're about to get to those. All right, let's do the Karad first. I think this is an obvious S tier. I think it's better than the Rhino even. So penetration value of 3, range of 2.3, accuracy of 4.2, base damage of 1. It has low recoil. You can get the underbarrel attachment with a shotgun. You can suppress it. I think you can suppress most of these weapons. But this is just a really good endgame weapon that has super manageable recoil. The underbarrel, it's one of the, I think there's 3 weapons that can get the underbarrel shotgun attachment, the GP37, the Karad, and the M701 Super. And it's a really good attachment that does a lot of damage because it's like having a mini Saiga on your assault rifle, which allows you to run, you know, potentially either no second main weapon or a completely different main weapon, like a sniper rifle or something. So it just really opens your option. It opens your option, opens your options up. I don't know why I was like saying that weird. All right, the Denis Pro. So a lot of people run the Karad or the Denis Pro earlier, or like middle game to late game. Those are kind of like your high tier assault rifles. And then the Denis Pro cannot get the underbarrel attachment, the shotgun attachment, but it does have higher base damage, the same penetration value. It has a little bit higher recoil, a little bit less range, and significantly, not really significantly, but 3, it has an accuracy rating of 3, while the Karad has an accuracy rating of 4.2. But 3 is a good accuracy rating. 1.9 base range is pretty decent. I would say this is high A tier. I actually would consider this worse than this because of the shotgun attachment. I think it's really insane. It's just really good. It's hard. Being able to just like switch to a Saiga on your gun is really stupid. It kind of makes assault rifles just insane. But all right, so we're done with shotguns. We're on to rifles now, like this, the hunting or the sniper rifles and everything. All right, let me organize this really quick. I guess, well, we can just go through it in this order. All right, so the Mark 1 EMR. So base damage is quite high at 2.7. The penetration is not as high as I would like, 2.1. It shoots 308 rounds. Its range is only 2.2. Its accuracy is only 3.48 at base. 308 rounds are very hard to come by until you unlock certain vendors, and they're also expensive to buy. So if you're gonna run this like for your entire playthrough, it's going to get really expensive and really difficult to run it the entire time. So I kind of don't recommend running weapons like this. But if you want to and you like it, I would say it's like B tier. It's definitely better than these weapons. Well, actually, I don't know that it is, though. Is it? Because the ammo. The issue with this weapon is its ammo type, frankly. 308 is really hard to come by in this game. Enemies don't drop it. Very few merchants sell it. Like if you go to most merchants, you can find 5.56 and 5.45 like pretty consistently. You can find, you know, 9x18, 9x19. You can easily find, you can more easily find like Rhino's ammunition type, which I think is also AS Lavina and Grom. But this is just such a better weapon versus those. It's not even close. This fucking hand cannon, dude, is just so good. All right, so the ammo type of 308, I feel like bumps this down to like C tier. I think it's a decent weapon, but the ammo is just its big problem. If the ammo wasn't an issue, I would put it in like low A tier. But because the ammo is honestly a huge pain in the ass until you're like in late game. Because the thing too is like you have to repair stuff, like repair costs are so high that if you're not doing like the money glitch or anything that's like exploiting the game or bugs that will probably be patched. Like if you're just playing the game, looting, shooting, you like your repair costs are gonna make it hard to afford ammo to fire this. Whereas the game will just be handing you ammo for all these other guns constantly. So it kind of makes it hard to mentally justify running this unless you. I personally really like it. I like M14s. I think it's a cool looking gun. Unfortunately, for the ammo, I think it's just too hard to run to justify placing it high in a tier list in a survival horror game. All right, the SVDM2. So this is pretty decent, actually. It has way higher damage than the M14. Or, I'm sorry, was it M14? Sorry, Mark 1 EMR. The Mark, it has higher base damage. So comparing the two directly, the Mark 1 has 2.7 base damage. This has 3.5. Penetration values are the same. The range is 0.3 higher on the SVDM, and the accuracy is 1.5 higher. The ammo is a little bit more common. The 7.62 ammunition does kind of drop semi-infrequently from, you know, enemies and random sources, and it's definitely more common than 308, but it's still not super common. It's about as common as like Rhino ammo. This thing, I would probably put it in like low B tier. It's decent. It serves a purpose. You know, it has decent base damage. It's semi-automatic, so you can kind of you know, go to town a little bit on a mutant if it's right in your face, which is kind of nice. The issue though with the snipers is that, you know, the ammo can be hard to come by consistently. So like running them full time, you almost have to like use it as like a secondary weapon where you run like an SMG, a shotgun, or an assault rifle, and then you like switch to it, which can be an issue. The next sniper, the VS Vintar. So this one, similar to the AS Lavina, like in Stalker 1, whenever I see this, I just don't even mess with it, but it's base damage, like 1.7 base damage, 2 penetration, 1.4 range. It's a sniper rifle that has bad range, and it shoots 9x39, which is not terrible. Like it's like a uncommon ammo type, but it's like you can reasonably encounter it. For the damage and the range on a sniper, it's like, yes, it's suppressed, but if you're just killing things like so far away that they can't really engage you that well because their weapon range is trash, I don't really see the point in a scope sniper, personally, that has such poor range. And you can also suppress a better sniper that I'll get into in a second. Honestly, I think it's like kind of bad. It's like C tier. Where's the other thing? We'll put this next to this. I feel like these are just always kind of weird. It can still one-shot headshot things like, you know, humanoids and stuff like this, but low penetration, base damage is fine. Against super heavily armored, I'm doubtful it can one-shot them on veteran. If it can, let me know, and then obviously like, we could bump it up to B tier. But I just feel like its uncommon ammo and its lack of good range just kind of holds it back. All right, and then next we have the SVU MKS3. So this thing, honestly, this seems really good. I haven't run it, but it's just an upgraded version of the SVD. So it has 4 base damage for a semi-auto. That's really high. That's pretty good. 3 penetration, also really good. Range of 2.8 is very respectable. Accuracy of 5. It's more of like an endgame weapon, but it also shoots 7.62, which is definitely more common than 308. So I will put it probably in like low A tier. So I'm putting it in low A tier because right now there's not like A life spawns, like enemies just kind of spawn on you. So snipers overall, they can still be used at point blank. Like you can still hip fire and quick scope and stuff like this. So it can still be used, but the fact that other things have more abundant ammo and the range you're usually encountering enemies is like close to medium, I would say it's not as good as like these for now, but it's still good. I'd still put it in A tier. Okay, and then finally, actually not finally, because we still have to go over the Gauss rifle. All right, the M701 Super. So base damage 5, penetration 3, range of 3.1, accuracy. Now I haven't really been going over upgrades too much for all of these because I haven't had the time to upgrade every single weapon yet. I have like almost 100 hours. We're getting there. So probably by the time this video is out, I'll be like pretty close to 100 hours. But I have been using this and it is good. It can get suppressed and it does have the option to have the underbarrel attachment, the shotgun attachment. So you can have a suppressed sniper that has long range capabilities, you know, long range one-shot headshots. It's also good at close range. It has a really nice scope. The only problem with it though is it's not super hard to get early. There's an arena bug where you can like drop it and like push it through and like collect it after doing the Arena 3 quest. You can also get one by buying one. There is also a way to get to Pripyat early to grab the actual one that's placed on the map. But aside from that, its stats are really good. Its scope is really easy to use. It's really easy to use and to like get point blank headshots. The attachments are good. The issue though is the 308 ammo. I would probably put it in low S tier if the 308 ammo wasn't so hard to get, because it's a sniper rifle that can be silenced and it can have a shotgun attached to it. That's pretty ridiculous on paper, but the 308 ammo is a problem even for late game. It can be difficult to get a lot of it. It only becomes, like, I would say once you're like 80% through the game, or if you're doing like artifact farming or something and constantly traveling to places that sell 308, it can be difficult to get. So for most of the game, even if you get one early, it's not going to be like, it costs a lot to repair. it's going to be hard to like run it. You're not going to be getting ammo commonly. But I do think this is like A tier. I think it's a little bit better than this because you can have a shotgun attached to it. And it can be suppressed. I don't know that this can be suppressed. If it can, then I would still put it higher because of the shotgun attachment. Okay, and then we have the Gauss rifle. So the Gauss rifle, 4 penetration, 5 damage, 5 range, 5 accuracy. The issue with it is that it's really hard to get. It's really uncommon. You can only really get it like super late game, so it's just something you get to play around with like super late game, or if you do like a series of probably exploits to get to certain regions early, to find one or to kill certain enemies to farm one, you might be able to get it early, but if assuming you're using exploits to do it. It also has rare ammo that's hard to get, and it's worth a lot, so it's also going to be expensive to repair if you want to run it. Like, let's say you want to get one of these and run it and like use it for a long period of time before completing the main quest, which obviously will like end. You can't continue after you finish the main quest, right? Like, so there's like a point of no return, and that's true in all Stalker games. It's not a spoiler. It's true in most games like this, but there's a point of no return where, like, if you were just to like go adventuring with the Gauss gun, it'd be really expensive to repair. It has really rare ammo. It's really good on paper. I would put it in B tier, like here. Yeah, like here. All right, so here's why. It's really hard to get. You can't use it for very long. Really expensive to repair. Really rare ammo. And even if you do get it, you probably won't be able to shoot it much. But it's cool. It's cool as hell. Now, if it had more abundant ammo, better availability, easy S tier. But for now, like, just based on like how, like, reasonably how many times can you shoot this before you run out of ammo or start having ammo issues? I think it has the rarest ammo in the entire game, outside of the RPG, which we'll get into. So I just don't know about it. I mean, obviously its stats are really good. If we're going by stats, S tier, but because of ammo, I think that really factors in. Ammo and availability hurt it. All right, so let's go over the RPG. The RPG is actually weirdly bad in this game. It's really good against humans, and it's really bad against mutants, and you would only really want to use it on mutants. So I'm putting this in bad tier. Rare ammo, hard to get. Specifically, it's like placed ammo on the map. I don't think vendors sell ammo. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe there's like some that do occasionally. Hard to get ammo, low damage, not good against mutants, which is what it should be great against. It's good against humans, but everything is, so who cares? Like, you can just spam, like, you can spam grenades and it's basically the same thing as against humans. So I just don't see the value in it. It's just a waste of weight. Just sell it, get rid of it. The RPM. This thing seems quite good. Base stats. If you want like a good spam gun to just like click on enemy heads and one-shot them at closer ranges, like close to medium, it has really good base damage of 1.3, penetration of 2.5. It has range of 1.9, but why would you shoot it anything further than like medium range? It has high capacity, obviously, because it's an LMG. What would I put this? I don't think you put a grenade launcher or a shotgun on it, though. So I don't think it's beyond A tier. Maybe high B tier. Let's see, what else is in A tier? It's definitely better than most of these. I would consider it better than the SPSA just because it has such high capacity that it has versatility. Like, this is only really good against like mutants. If you're using this against humans, it's just outclassed by assault rifles against humans because those can just like 1 to 2 shot headshot rapidly. Like, you can mow a group of armored humans down with most of the assault rifles. Whereas with this, you're very limited on range and reload. That's kind of where the Saiga and the Ram outshine the SPSA because they just have a whole clip. They just throw it in there and just, you know, continue firing. But compared to like the G37, it's definitely not better than that because that can get a good attachments, get suppressed. I don't think you can suppress this. I'm gonna put this in high B tier. I think that's fair. All right, let's zoom out so you can see everything. All right, so here's my list. Let me know what you think about some of these placements. If I'm just unknowledgeable on certain weapons, like if there's like some unlock that's insane on some of these that definitely moves them up, let me know, because I don't know everything about the game. Maybe after I get a couple 100 hours, I'll know the weapon trees, like the upgrade trees from memory. But for now, this is the first list. I'm gonna do follow-ups and stuff. This is where I think the weapons are at. So the S tier is the Karad, I think, is the best weapon, arguably the best weapon in the game, because it has versatility. There's nothing. There's not a situation where it can't be good, because you can attach a shotgun to a weapon. Like, the shotgun allows it to fight mutants really well. So you can unload 5 shotgun shells into a mutant's face, nearly instantly killing them or instantly killing them. So, like, it's good against bloodsuckers. It's good against those hooded dudes, burrs, or whatever they're called. It's good against the what are those dudes called? I keep forgetting the names of these things. The dudes that, like, psychic attack you. It's good against literally all mutants, because, like, even if you didn't use the shotgun, it's good against mutants because it has decent damage, a good fire rate, and decent penetration. But the fact that it can have a shotgun attached to it, it can be suppressed. It has good optics options. It's just a solid thing. Same thing with the G37. It's basically a slightly weaker version of the Karad with a built-in 2x zoom, and it also can accept the shotgun. So, like, it's just kind of crazy. And then the Rhino is just, dude, honestly, I think the Rhino needs nerfed. It does everything. It has range, it has penetration, it has accuracy. Its ammo is, like, relatively cheap to buy compared to, like, the other. Like, 308 is pretty expensive, but the Rhino's ammo is really not that bad. I think it's like half the cost or something like that. All right, so that's it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this or find this useful. I'm open to feedback on this. This is not set in stone. I could easily have a couple 100 more hours with this game, and some of these will move around if the devs do balance patches or updates, or maybe they buff some, like, weapons. These could move from that also. So this is, like, by no means definitive. I'm not trying to pass it off as that. There's probably things I'm wrong about. That's fine. Just let me know what you think about certain weapons. This is for veteran mode, so enemies are a little bit more durable. They're a little bit more punishing if you're caught out in the open and make mistakes. But yeah, that's it for this one. Peace.